Hello, I'm Ziyan Janelle M. Pascual. Have you ever wondered how do they build a system unit? And how its different parts work for your convenience? In this video it will show how to build a system unit. But first let's get to know what is a system unit, its importance, and the different parts of a system unit. The system unit, also known as a tower or chassis, is the main part of a desktop computer. A system unit is the part of a computer that houses the primary devices that perform operations and produce results for complex calculations. It includes the motherboard, CPU, RAM and other components, as well as the case in which these devices are housed. This unit performs the majority of the functions that a computer is required to do. Let's get into the importance of a system unit. The system unit holds the system devices that perform calculations as requested from the input device, which can range from a microprocessor to a capacitor or system clock. Every system device has its own function. The system unit includes the electronic equipment that interacts simultaneously in order to perform calculations and transfer the results to the corresponding input and output devices. These are the major components that you will find when you open the computer system unit. Note that the computer system unit is the box-like structure that people erroneously refer to as the CPU. The different parts includes processor, CPU cooler, motherboard, RAM, video card, hard disk drive, power supply, chassis or case. First let's get to know what is a processor. It is an integrated circuit formed on a single chip. A processor executes instructions and carries out arithmetic and logical operations. Thus, it is known as the brain of the computer. The next part is a CPU cooler, also known as computer fan. Its main work is cooling the components. It is designed to draw cooler air into the computer system case and drive out the warm air. Motherboard. It is also known as the system board or main board. It is the main circuit board in a computer. Motherboard contains computer chips and other electronic components which give function to a computer. Next part is RAM. Random access memory, also referred to as primary memory. It is a hardware device that allows information to be stored and retrieved to a computer. However, RAM is a volatile memory and requires power to keep the data accessible. Video card, alternatively known as graphics card. It is an expansion card that connects to a computer motherboard. Moreover, it is a piece of hardware inside the computer that processes images and videos, some of the tasks normally handled by the CPU. Next part is the hard disk drive, or the storage. It is a high-capacity, non-volatile, magnetic data storage device, with a volume disk that is usually non-removable. Mostly, it holds the operating system, the application programs and user data. Another part is power supply. It is used to convert AC currents from the main supply to the different DC voltages required by various computer components. A standard power supply would typically be able to deliver around 350 watts. And lastly, the chassis or case. It is a metal frame that serves as the structural support for electronic components. Now let's get into the main part of this video, which is the steps on how to build a system unit. There are a few different ways on how you can build a system unit, and it is up to you to take the one you feel most comfortable with. Moreover, before building your system unit, make sure that you have a suitable work area, with good lighting and plenty of space. Ensure that you have all the required parts and tools needed. And lastly, have a guide or manuals for the individual parts to avoid damaging them. Let me show you the steps on how to build a system unit. Step 1. Mount the processor to the motherboard. Locate the CPU socket holder on the motherboard. Gently place it straight down and secure it into the motherboard socket, holding the processor by its sides. Avoid touching or pressing down on the back of the processor to avoid damaging or destroying it. Step 2. Install the CPU cooler. Apply thermal paste to the back of the processor. Seat CPU cooler and fix in position. Plug cabling connectors from the CPU cooler to the motherboard. Next. Step 3. Mount the RAM to the motherboard. Press to open the clips at both ends of the RAM mounting slots. Seat the RAM and press it firmly down by lining up the notch on the RAM stick with the mounting slot. The clips will automatically close as you press the RAM down, securing it in place. Make sure that the RAM is properly lined up to the mounting slot to avoid breaking the notch of the RAM. Step 4. Install the motherboard to the chassis or case. Screw and fasten the motherboard in place on the top of the mounting standoffs. Remember to install the mounting standoffs in the case that match the screw mounting holes on your motherboard. Laying your case sideways on flat surface will allow you to work easier. Next. Step 5. Install the power supply. Mount the power supply and fasten with screws in place to the case mounting points. Plug the largest and 8-pin cabling connectors from the power supply to the motherboard. Step 6. Install the hard disk drive. Mount hard disk drive in the case drive base and fix it in place with screws through the case frame holes. Connect the drive to the motherboard using SATA cable and plug in power cabling to the storage drive. Last step. Install the video card. Line up and press down firmly the video card to its mounting slots. Put in the screws to hold the video card in place. Plug in power connector cables from the power supply into the graphics card power connector. So those are the steps on how to build a system unit. However, note that different computer cases may have slightly different connections, but generally both the connectors and motherboard headers are labeled. Use it as a guide in plugging each cable connectors. Read all parts user manuals before attempting your build and follow the manufacturer's installation instructions. Thank you for watching. Enjoy building your own system unit.